Welcome to the 19th episode of Profs Radio, the show to A-star your business by learning from entrepreneurs' experience how to solve challenges. I'm your host, Peter Martin, founder of Enterprise Profs, the community group to grow your business. Today we have James Moon from Air Moon. Good morning, James. Do you want to say hi to the listeners and tell them about what you do?
Good morning. Great to be here. My name is James Moon, founder of Air Moon. Got a few other businesses as well, but obviously, just here today to talk about my journey and everything I've been experiencing along the way.
Good to have you. Do you want to talk a little bit about that journey? So how you started an international aviation company?
Yeah. Obviously, if we go back to kind of school time, school struggled with most subjects, often bottom set. Really didn't want to go to university or anything along those lines, so left school at 16. Did some of my pilot training, and then through chance fell into the world of aircraft buying and selling, which was thoroughly enjoyable, and kind of discovered that there was a bit of a marketplace for it, in the sense that it was kind of done poorly, a little bit out of date in terms of marketing techniques, and looked at it and thought I could probably do a little bit different. Had no experience in the sector, made some great contacts and built up the business that way. And then kind of from stepping stones from there, went on to get into the commercial aviation sector, and ended up kind of working with airlines, helping airlines with their fleet plans and aircraft sales and acquisitions, and that's where we are a bit today. And obviously, thoroughly enjoying it along the way, but it's been a very tough journey. But one stepping stones led to another, and that's how we were where we are today, really.
So that's what you do. You basically sell airplanes to different companies and lease them from owners to. Yeah.
So if you could be in the business jet world, you could be a business, you could be a high net worth, you could be a trust or a financier who you need an aircraft to buy or sell, and we'll help them either try and find that aircraft or find or help them sell the aircraft. So work with them on a strategy, generate contacts for them, generate leads, and try and get the aircraft sold. On the airliner side of things, we'll work with the airline on trying to find whatever their fleet requirements are, so they could have long-term fleet plans as well as short-term fleet plans or aircraft that they're looking to phase out, and what would be the best strategy to try and phase the aircraft out. So that's kind of what we do, and thoroughly enjoy it. Every day is a little bit different. That's all about every day, really. We don't know what's going to happen, and obviously we've seen over the past few weeks the effect of the COVID outbreak, how severe it's been on the aviation industry, and obviously everything that we've been working on is now kind of stalled, but there's still opportunities for us to advise airlines, advise aircraft owners with regards to their aircraft and their plans, really. So yeah, there's always work to be done.
So there you go, listeners. If you've got a bit of cash lying around, you know where to go for a private jet. There we go.
Yeah, one day. I mean, there's some businesses, some business owners that I've worked with, and they started very small, and now they've ended up getting a private jet. So you just think, anyone can do it. So it's a great experience if you ever get to go on one. It kind of puts you off flying on an airliner, because it's another world. But
who doesn't enjoy cramped seats and crying babies on a 4-hour flight?
It's like I went on one last year, and it was like a rocket. It was so fast, but keeps you. That's why I think it's quite good, because it shows you where you want to be, make your business succeed and do well. So it's a great kind of tool of to get there and make that reality, really.
I remember the Concordes; they were quite quick, weren't they?
Yeah, they're very quick. Such a beautiful aircraft, fantastic aircraft type for its age. I think it was the 70s, and it's a great shame that we haven't, with the technology that we have these days, not been able to produce something which is just as similar but more fuel efficient. So hopefully in the future they'll be able to design something which will be able to be just as exciting.
You touched a little bit on the current circumstance with coronavirus, and obviously planes are now, the majority of planes are now grounded. Do you just want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you've had?
So
another one,
yeah. I mean, obviously, all of this was unexpected. Like every other business, no one saw this coming on the horizon. I think aviation's been hit the hardest. Mainly because borders are closed, aircraft can't fly. I think last time I checked, 95% of UK daily flights were down, which just shows how many flights aren't happening. Those flights are often repatriation flights or key routes, with kind of with an exception of some medical repatriations as well. So no one could forecast this. So a lot of both airlines and those involved in the commercial aviation weren't able to produce models or anything based on this scenario. In the last 2 decades, we've seen 3 trigger events, which have caused downturns in aviation. 2001 September 11th attacks, 2003 SARS, and the 07-08 financial crash. And they all caused downturns, which industry recovered and then did well. But the scale of the COVID outbreak is actually more global. So it's affecting more airlines. And to put it in perspective, SARS cost the industry $7 billion, whereas COVID's on track to cost $300 billion. So it just shows the sheer size and the difference of the huge impact COVID's had on the aviation industry as a whole.
Do you think many airlines are going to make it through this?
Well, I've seen some stats that have said that by June we'll lose over half the airlines in the world, which I'm hoping won't be the case. I think airlines need to survive, especially here in the UK. We've lost some great airlines over the last few years, so I think there will definitely be casualties, and there'll be airlines that go bust, but there'll be airlines that pull through. But each airline that pulls through needs to realize that their business model needs to be tweaked and edited. So post COVID-19, we're operating in a landscape which is going to be a lot different from pre-COVID in terms of, I think, consumer habits are going to change. People might be less reluctant to fly until a vaccine's found, and you don't know, kind of behavior might change. So it's going to be an interesting time and see how that pans out. But that's why airlines who are struggling before COVID need to realize that it's going to be a lot harder after this subsides, and those that have not been able to make a profit, maybe just delaying the inevitable, really. So we'll just have to wait and see. But it's interesting times nonetheless.
And digressing a little bit, there's obviously a lot in the media at the moment about whether government should be bailing out these airlines. What's your opinion on that? Do you reckon that's right or wrong?
It's a tough one, because obviously airlines employ a lot of people, and that's the thing. There's key routes. Once this passes, we're going to need airlines to heal economies, to reunite friends and families, colleagues, and I think airlines have to be saved at the end of the day, but at what expense? There's no point chucking 500 million at an airline just for it to go bust in 6 months' time. We have to kind of realize that a lot of these airlines are going to be a lot smaller long term. So we just kind of got to look at it sensibly, and realize that not every airline can be saved, and it's not potentially worth saving. But if there's big ones which are essential to the UK economy, then they should be saved, or maybe restructured in a way that they'll be profitable ultimately over time. So it's just looking at each airline individually, not as a group.
Very good diplomatic answer. Without picking a side, that was good. So just going back to the challenges that you mentioned, do you also want to talk about how you're kind of solving challenges in your own business? Is there any kind of software that's helping you to do that? Yes.
So obviously, I always say, like, I know it's not software, but LinkedIn. LinkedIn's great for connecting with people taking you seriously, adding a lot of credibility to a business. But then at the same time, software-wise, I think it would be the likes of HubSpot. I use that quite a lot as a CRM. But then there's things like Slack, MailChimp, and kind of use them all. But it's just within our business, we don't really utilize that much technology. But given this event, we know that the industry is going to be more digitalized as a result. So the aviation industry is often controlled by, I'd say, people that don't embrace technology. And I think this event has reinforced that we all need to be online. We all need to have kind of access to be able to not have to work in an office. And that's something that the aviation industry, I think, will have to adopt more. So there'll be new software coming in, more kind of blockchain, things like that, coming into the sector as a result of this crisis. So it'll be interesting to see. But as our business, we kind of don't really use that much software. But I think we will have to going forward just to be in line with what everyone else is doing.
I think a lot of businesses are realizing that, are they? Kind of like, what are the contingencies? And some businesses had that in place. I mean, nobody really thought about a pandemic, but
Yeah.
just what if the office block closes? What do we do?
Yes.
There was a guy we had on this podcast called Richard Talbot Jones. He works in insurance, and actually the main thing that he's dealing with now is, well, actually, what would we do in terms of this? Because he also does risk management and
Oh, wow.
contingencies, and a lot of people are now turning to technology and obviously wondering how to do that.
Yeah.
You were talking a little bit about your journey, how you didn't want to go the usual route, kind of university graduate job. You kind of started when you were a teenager flying, and then kind of got the right contacts, worked your way up. What would be your top tip for somebody that wants to launch a business and doesn't really kind of want to go down those traditional routes?
I would say just to go ahead and launch it. I often hear a lot of people not wanting to take that step, not to take that risk for whatever reason. But I think the best way is just to get out there, get something up there, and to learn as you go on. I think it's the best way. It's often, people often read a lot of books on it or study courses or study entrepreneurship at university. And I think the best way is just to learn as you go on. And that's the way I've done it. I know a few others do it as well. It is just and you find out a lot about your strengths and weaknesses. And obviously surround yourself with people that know your weaknesses as well. And there's a lot, the people that know my weaknesses, what I'm not good at, but what I am good at. And that's what I think is essential. So find yourself kind of a mentor, or a few mentors that kind of get you and get your long-term vision and everything. And I think that would be key. So they can hold you accountable really to your success.
Failure is probably the best teacher that we can have, really. You can read all the books in the world, but until you make those mistakes, it's always better to learn from other people's mistakes. But
yes. No, that's so true. It is, and yeah, I think you need that kind of weekly or monthly meeting with someone just you can hold you accountable, because otherwise things just drift and you miss deadlines or whatever, and I think that's important.
You touched there on mentorship, and I think that's a key element that a lot of people miss, because a lot of businesses kind of fail in the first couple of years, really. And I think part of that is mentorship. We were on the same program that actually has a 12-month membership. How did you find? Did that help you in your first year?
Well, mentorship, I think is good, but it's making sure you're being paired with the right mentor. There's some mentors that have never run a business who think they can be mentors, and so it's pointless. It's a waste of everyone's time. Or mentors that are not the right fit for your sector. So it's about kind of identifying the right people to work with, and I think that's the best thing you can do. There's people that you either get on with, or that are good fit for the business, and that's it's an interesting one. But mentors are key. But I think there's loads of things as well, and even friends, family as well, so people can know what you're going through. Because I think you're not sometimes going to be an overnight success. Twitter took, I think it was 10 years or something before they were classed as kind of an overnight success. And I think people sometimes have to be realistic that they're not going to, the business journey could be a long one, and just have to prepare themselves for, the sacrifices that they have to make along the way. So if you can make your friends and family aware of that as well, then everyone's kind of experiencing what you're experiencing and what you're going through and things like that. And you need that kind of strong support network around you.
I think that's quite key, that patience. I mean, obviously one of the things that we do is websites, and people seem to have this mindset, once I've got the website up, the people are going to come and I'm going to buy, or once I stick my stuff on Amazon, that's it, and I'm in business. And
yeah.
Well, actually, that's not the case. Like, you're not the first one to have this idea, and there's people out there solving the problem.
Yeah, it's so true. I think it's good getting something up there, but you've got to look at what marketing's working. It's constantly, I would say, review, self-assessment. What is the best way forward, and what's worked and what hasn't from marketing. So keeping kind of an eye on everything that's going well for the business, but also identifying what's not going well, so you can improve, and in the long run, and setting realistic targets. Because I think so many people set unrealistic targets and kind of push their boat out too much, and then they get disappointed, and it affects the long-term progress of the business because they're disheartened. I think sometimes being kind of realistic and or setting manageable achievements is better short term, and then you can look to scale up, just so you can kind of keep the momentum going and feel like you're hitting targets each month for the business.
You kind of see that, don't you, on programs like Dragon's Den, where they go in and they're just like, oh yeah, it'd be £1 million like in no time at all if you give you only need 1%, and then you just sit back and wait for them to be just torn into just because like, oh, I'll just get a target out of thin air, and sure it'll all be going well. Yeah, well, you're all right, kind of.
That's why you need people who kind of around you, who can keep you grounded, who can challenge you around those figures, and kind of just make sure that you're kind of being sensible when you're looking to raise investment. And I think that's key, really, is making sure that you're in a sensible position, and you're either not going to getting investment too early on or at the right stage. But I'd say just making sure that everyone's aware kind of what you're up to, what your journey is, and where you want to be, and trying to get as much help as you can. But also at the same time, I think a lot of startups take a lot of help and don't give it back. I've heard a lot of people often complain that they say they do a lot of work and they never get any thanks and things. So I think a lot of startup businesses need to be kind of appreciative of people giving up their time and seeing what they can offer back sometimes. Could they help other businesses as well as a result, and kind of passing the baton on to others. And I think that's essential, really, just to keep a healthy ecosystem for the startup business community.
Two things you've mentioned there. One is the multiple mentors. I really like that idea. Rather than getting a kind of jack of all trades, kind of finding people that are really niche in certain areas to kind of basically complement your weaknesses, as you called them. I think that's because sometimes we can just kind of focus on the one, but I suppose the trouble with that is maybe you'll get conflicting advice sometimes, which might help. Do you just find one that's for that area only, and then someone for just that area, and then to avoid that?
Or kind of anyone, really, anyone you think is a good fit, and then you don't have to take every word from them. You can just pick and choose, really, and that's what if they disagree with something, then you take it on board and kind of understand why. But I'd say obviously from when it comes to marketing or accounting or kind of just general business, is finding people that have been there, got the t-shirt, and done quite well, and just who can get your business as well, because there's nothing worse than spending time with people who don't get your business, who don't kind of know where you want to go with it, because your expectations or vision could be a lot different from what theirs is, and there's a massive mismatch then.
It's true. I remember when I first started and someone was trying to tell me to sell courses at like 10 times the price of the normal industry price, and it's like it's never going to fly. Like, no matter how good you are, 10 times will never ever.
But you could do eventually. You could, once you get more, like more, and then get the, known for it, and then things like that eventually. But you think early on, I think almost you have to give away a lot of stuff for free, especially in aircraft sales, where you gave the deals, sometimes free of charge, just so we could get other aircraft later down the line and get known and things like that. So I think people have to be kind of realistic and kind of sensible that, if you're the new kid on the block, sometimes you've got to get known for the right reasons and things like that.
I like what you were saying before about people always giving back, because I think too much in the business world is people can be, particularly for the same industry, people can be quite standoffish. They think, oh no, I don't want to talk to you, don't really. But actually, collaboration goes, I think, much further. And actually, if people are failing, then you've got nobody to buy off you. You've got no suppliers. So actually, by helping everybody succeed, I think we kind of all succeed, because if you don't have a supplier, how do you sell? Well, if nobody's buying from you, you can't buy off your seller. And you had a good word there, the ecosystem of it all, and actually together in the business community, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
Okay, and lastly, what is your favorite software and why?
Well, I know it's probably not software, but LinkedIn. I think I keep saying I'm not on commission by them or anything, but I think it's just it's just a great platform. I think you can learn so much from it. You can make some great connections, but at the same time, people can check you out, check your business out, see who else is connected to you and things like that. And as a startup business, I think it's a free tool, which is just a great way of building credibility and getting the word out and making some great connections. And I think, considering it doesn't cost anything, you can do a lot for free on it, which gives you, even connecting with people in your sector that are, could be the leaders, market leaders, or people that you're inspired to be. You can check their profiles out, you can do whatever. And it's kind of a great way of kind of increasing your profile, your credibility, your brand awareness, and getting kind of noticed. So I think I'd recommend anyone make sure they're on LinkedIn. And the number of people that I've met at events and things who haven't got LinkedIn, who are in running a business, it kind of amazes me still, because I think that maybe there might be a misconception that, potentially, say if you run a cake business or something, that you shouldn't be on LinkedIn, or, maybe it should just be finance and business or something like that. They're the only ones on LinkedIn, but I think everyone that runs a business, regardless of the sector, needs to be on LinkedIn. And I'd say that's probably the greatest software that we use. If it is software, more like platform, but it's the greatest thing at the moment that we use.
Even just taking up your example there, but B2C, even those need other businesses, need suppliers and things. You never know what businesses might bring them in for, like a
absolutely
team building day or something. Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, we've just switched our group from Facebook and now got an enterprise profs on LinkedIn instead of, and in a week it's done much better than it actually ever did.
Yeah.
Facebook, but everyone's always Facebook groups, friend and did that, and there's no activity, not many members. And I think actually that's where the people are, isn't it? It's business people are, and people are wincing. I find it a bit odd. I like the things that you were talking about, where you can actually research people. Like, obviously, we look at people's profiles before they come on here and other things, or find that connections. But because it tells you that you looked at those profiles, you never want to come across a little bit stalkery, because then they're going, "Oh, why is he looking at my profile?"
No, I think it's good, because then you can also put requests out. So say if you need a graphic designer, somebody will know someone, and I think that's things that are just
it's really good for that. Yeah.
And it's a good little community for support. And I think when I've needed help in the past, I've often put things on there for people to help me, either introduce me to someone or do they know someone, and it's been fantastic for that. So I'd probably say, given that it's free, it's just a great thing to have. So I'd recommend all businesses should kind of be on it. Even if you're considering setting up a business, you could still put things on there, to try and connect with mentors or whatever. I think just go for it.
I'm shocked that people at events don't have it. I mean, I don't take a business card now. It's like, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll engage with you on there.
It was a few businesses I've been at, and I said, either I didn't have a card on me or something, and I said to them, "Are you on LinkedIn? I'll add you quickly now." And they're like, "Oh, we haven't got LinkedIn yet." And it was just kind of like, I don't know. That's where I think, again, mentors could help, or friends and family, or people that have been in your shoes and need the help, just because it can help you kind of make more connections. So it is one big learning curve. So I think, I appreciate those. Not everyone, when they set up a business, has that kind of knows where to go, where to think Facebook and things. But I think just you have to constantly look at what's working, what's not. And I think it's always, I think that's why I love business, because it's just so every day, so exciting, really. And that's very interesting.
And before you go, how can people connect with you? I'm guessing LinkedIn's going to be one of them.
Yes, LinkedIn, or email. Drop me an email, my Moon email, which is just jmoon@airmoon.com. And then feel free to connect. Drop me an email. I'm more than happy to talk about kind of my business journey. If anyone needs any help or whatever, just let me know.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. That's been quite an interesting chat. I think the listeners will benefit from that. So
I hope so. I always think it's always kind of it's nice to be asked when you talk about your journey and everything, because every journey is different, and if you can pick up one or two things that could help another person's journey, then it's worth its weight in gold. So hopefully somebody might learn something from my interesting experiences today.
That's much appreciated. Remember, listeners, to check out the Enterprise Profs community and LinkedIn groups, and go and A-star your business.